When you get stitches, a doctor threads a needle through your wound and pulls it tight to close the skin. As the stitches hold the edges together, the wound becomes inflamed as new cells begin to repair the tissue. Afterwards, connective tissues and collagens start to create skin. Then, blood vessels form to nourish these developing tissues, filling in the area. And over a few weeks, the wound will have healed together and the stitches are removed. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, it tore several holes in the ship's side, causing water to flood in. Now, the ship was designed with these compartments that could contain flooding if the hull got damaged. And if up to 4 of these compartments became compromised, the ship would still be able to float. But the iceberg ripped into 6 of them near the bow of the ship, and they began to rapidly flood. This made the bow sink into the water, causing the back half to lift into the air. Eventually, the middle section couldn't support the weight and broke in half, and both sides sank to the ocean floor. If you took the tallest building in the world and tried to reach the Titanic, you would actually need 5 of them stacked together to make it. Now, the Titanic sits at over 12,000 feet underwater, which is just about the average depth of the ocean floor. But just like land, the ocean is covered in deep pits. Most of these trenches are significantly deeper, like the Mariana Trench, which goes down so deep that you would have to stack 13 of these buildings to reach the bottom. A tree's root system is much more robust than most people think, and these roots are actually connected to other trees in the area that form a complex network. This network essentially allows them to talk to each other about potential threats, like insect attacks and fungal infections. And if one of the trees needs food, the others in the area can send nutrients through their roots, ensuring that all the trees in the network remain healthy. A pierced ear can be gently stretched by inserting earrings that are slightly larger. And after a few weeks, you could switch to another slightly larger pair. This process gradually stretches the piercing and stimulates the skin to produce new cells, allowing the earlobe to expand. But if you don't wait long enough between each size, the skin could tear and become infected, which can cause the gauge to rip through the lobe. When Pinocchio lies, his nose grows. So what would happen if he said, "My nose is about to grow"? If it did not grow, then that would mean he was lying, which would cause his nose to grow. But his nose growing would then indicate that he was not lying, which means his nose should have never grown. What do you think would happen? If the ice starts to crack, you should immediately spread out your arms before you start falling. This will allow you to grab onto the ice and prevent you from being fully submerged. But if you do fall in, you might become confused and lose track of which way is up. And in this panic state, you could end up swimming away from the opening, trapping yourself under the ice. If this happens, stay calm and look for light. This is usually where the hole is. Corsets used to be squeezed so tight back in the 19th century that some women actually had their internal organs shifted around, and this would sometimes cause them severe digestive issues. Some women also experienced breathing problems and would faint frequently. Wearing a tight corset from a young age often caused deformities in the rib cage, making them narrow and compressed as they aged. Most people just go ahead and pluck out unwanted nose hairs. But should you actually do this? Well, these hairs actually act as a filter, preventing harmful irritants from entering your nasal passage. And plucking them out removes this filter, allowing bacteria to freely flow into your respiratory system. Now, while this might not seem like a big deal, in rare cases, this bacteria can travel from the nose to the brain, causing serious complications. Some people compulsively eat their own hair until it becomes trapped in their stomach. This happens because our digestive system can't break it down, and as more hair is swallowed, it turns into a dense, matted ball. This can grow so large that it causes a blockage in the stomach, and a doctor can try to break it apart with a tube inserted through the mouth. But if the hairball is big enough and unreachable, a surgery is required to remove it. Some people get their toenails removed on purpose, and this is usually done as a last resort before running a marathon. You see, during long-distance running, your toenails repeatedly hit the front of your shoe, and this is painful and can make your nails blacken, which could cause them to eventually fall off. So some extreme runners choose to just remove them before the race to prevent this altogether.